So, today I'm going to share my thoughts and reflection of life. So, with this quarantine, it just makes me even more, with this quarantine lockdown, social lockdown, I just made me think even more reflection about my life. Because I'm forced to face even more unsolved problems that people created for me. I'm not saying I'm blaming, because I'm a person who always tried to reinvent myself, change things. But it's funny when people always interfere in your life and they think it's good for you and they don't trust you, believe you. I'll start beginning. Basically, my whole life is reflected back to my parents. I was a very intelligent girl. And, yes, I inherited my parents' disability and everything, but my parents kind of like always kind of turn for the worst, look for the worst, and they find the worst. And and you know, and I noticed my mom, she always seems to like roadblock my life a lot and take what other people told her instead of like kind of question the other side. And I think it's very bad parenting. A lot of disabled parents need to do that, and there's very few who are successful, who are disabled, who overcome disabilities, because they have parents who kind of questions other options and not just like direct questions, direct just because someone said one opinion, or they let feast their insecurities that blocks them. You know, my whole life has been that way. Before I had my brain injury, the very few things I remember when I was a toddler before I had my brain injury, um, in my late toddler years, before my sister was born, and maybe a bit of my sister. It was just a short time, and because my sister is 2 years younger than me, and you know, and I was really high intelligent. I remember my dad, when my sister was going to be born. It was only a few blocks away to. What I mean by a few blocks, I mean like probably 20 minutes drive to the hospital. 20 or 30 minutes drive to the hospital to to for my sister to be born. And my dad, was so anxious. And I said to him, Dad, I remember even speaking. I said, Dad, Dad, let me get some gloves. Funny that you know, you know, but yeah, you know, looking back, I just knew my parents was unstable because they was not willing to admit they had problems, and because they come from a generation, a time where when you did lock down, which is still is, and but now you have some options, and unless you have family who don't believe you and interfere your life and lock you down, you know, because what society tells you to do. You know, there's when there's different form of living. There's not one way of living. you know. And people just forget that people have free will. God loves people, but He doesn't force people to have a live free will. That's one reason why I have my faith of in the Church of Jesus Christ about afterlife is that it's not just heaven hell. There is other options, of people's understanding or acceptance of life. So there is different places for people to go. There's those who just believe in Jesus. Jesus is there. But there's those who just was good people. Then and of course there is hell, but but not this straightforward hell that most mainstream Christians believe. But yeah, so but yeah, back to non-religion. I say this, my whole life I'm reminded of how I'm made to live in the past because people decide that I can't overcome my difficulties in life, and it's some true. Yes, you can't overcome everything in life, but you can overcome. It's kind of a bit both-sided, but the most successful people in life has overcome a lot because they had families that believed them. They had a group of people. My last therapist I had that was the church paid for me, and she was not very good either. In some ways, people was right. My mum and my therapist Linda, she betrayed me because when I had a nervous breakdown, one thing she kept saying, well, she should be tranquilized. I figured that's when actually my heart was breaking because asking people to help me in the right way, not the way where I should be locked up or for having feelings, or the fact that I just wanted to be socially accepted, or supported, not excluded, not being taken down and be suppressed, or people just do things, people at church who just, I was in a very difficult situation and people just do halfway, I thought it was really bad because when I, say, well, you should stick to your family, and don't understand that my family was not very good for me. I ended up being put myself in a, my mom never respect my wishes. She just said, oh, you have to live with us. Nobody respected my life. My whole life was being destroyed by other people. They never listened to my side of the story. They just assumed, well, just because my mum was good, there was a religious woman, there was no issues and anything, And so I'm not saying religion's bad or anything, but I have to say, just because people believe in God and organizations doesn't stop them making poor choices. And that's why people will become atheists, because people who are atheists are damaged by some type of religious background, like my sister. She blames on religion and everything, and she has the right to. So there is those pathways of life. Of course, I believe in God because God is the supernatural being, and to find real meaning and true power in this world, you have to believe there is a God. And and if you believe in intelligence, then you just believe in God. So yes, but which can be really annoying, but I'm sorry if I put God into this picture, and maybe it is, for some people who don't want to believe in God, and I put in this subject, put an extra subject as that as well, but yeah, I my whole life my family just never respected my wishes. You know, it's always about them, never about how I feel and stuff. You know, like you know, even having abusive boyfriend, psychotic boyfriend. You know, yes, he has some goodness, and I would fall in love with them, but you know that's what the narcissistic thing, because I came from my parents not are narcissists as well, so it was a two-way street. You have the opposite of someone who's and then having probably friends who are narcissistic. You have in college, you have someone who's like, I know it was college named Rachel. She was just so narcissistic, and you know I know we all have narcissism in us, especially now we live in a society, but I'm just saying is that my whole life has been a train wreck of attraction, you know, of what people force me to live, what they want, and never respected what I wanted, you know. My mom, she never admits that she's wrong, ever. No matter how much I said to her years and years and years of the things that she did to me was so abusive. You know, you know, I had to choose a life without her. You know, I walked out of church. I stopped going to church and lived with and walked out from church. My parents, everything, because nobody believed me about about what made me happy, truly happy and successful. You know, and stuff, because they just saw disabled girl labels, the society. People who truly spiritual are people who truly understand people's suffering. You know, that's what I've come to learn. You know, my life of reflection's been is that I'm forced to live what people want me to live, how I live and want. And every time I don't think I don't think it's wrong for me as a Christian going to a party or going if I spiritually feel I shouldn't go, I don't go. There's time when God just gave me visions of places of what perceived could happen, and I was right. It didn't go very well, but for the people I knew and stuff, and without the spiritual gift, which it doesn't happen all the time. You know, it's not just protect me. Sometimes it's also to warn people too, but I have to do it in a discreet manner. But yeah, because that's what people, spiritually gifted people, have to do. They can't just openly, people take, it's funny, most Christians don't believe in this spiritual gifting. It's like you have to like go to a psycho community and they will accept you. Well, some of them anyway. Some of them could be like really bad. Like a yogi teacher, he has spiritual gifts, but he's anointed because you're anointed. You're spiritually anointed because you're truly aligned to Jesus Christ, and he finds out that he doesn't like the fact that he out that because he's not living true truth. He's living like the so as above as below. You know, you know, and you caught him all his some of his lies that because he's got this spiritual connection through other entities and stuff. And he can't deal with it. There was one of the things anyway, and that's another story. Even trying to dumb down your friend who has God talking to her of by numbers, but shame she didn't tell me, because I would have told her and she would have saved so many money going all the way to Wales or somewhere, if she's listening, she'd probably be a bit embarrassed. But of course I would never mention her name. But that's the problem. That's the problem. You see, people block people potential because they're insecure and they don't want, and they live in fear, even in the name of goodness, but actually what they're doing is really bad, which just goes against what the teachings of what Jesus said, about about check yourself, teachings, but but you know you know for me it's very frustrating, because my whole life I've been set back because of people's poor opinions, assumptions, and they don't listen to me or listen to the people who probably believe me, like my science teacher. I remember, I was in the bottom class in mainstream. I fight my all way in mainstream school, and he only showed up for me because he said I had a future. Compared to other children, he said, but my parents just didn't seem to take it in. I had to fight for my whole self. If it wasn't for God interfering to me and spiritually intervening to me, I would definitely would have not pushed myself so hard in mainstream school. I would have killed myself. Because I had family who didn't believe me. I had a community that didn't exactly believe in me. There were some people that did believe me, but they was only there for a short time. So generally people didn't exactly believe in me, or it didn't exactly talk to me. Instead of talk to my parents and, made assumptions of what my parents, because my parents, they didn't understand that my parents have that cycle of problems and they were abusive in some way. Now I'm an adult, my parents don't have really much say, because now I'm handed by social services, you know, the very thing I never wanted my whole life was doing what everybody wanted me to do. It's funny because when I was, my mom actually threatened me that would one day be locked up if I didn't do exactly what I told her to do. Told her, my mom made sure that I was stuck at home when I straight after school. I didn't have any real friends. It was very difficult being special needs anyway. I'd have a family who's super religious. There's nothing wrong with being super religious, but even Jesus lived in a way that most people didn't exactly understand. What was socially unacceptable. People have a stereotype of what religious is. They don't really know that being truly religious is being spiritually aligned with, and not because what others have been telling you. It's because you have a true connection with God, and that's what truly living and everything. But yes, my whole life has been set back where if we'll have to do what I don't do what I feel right, what things right. I have to do things what's correct for everybody else. I'm not allowed to celebrate life, because in this world, you try to celebrate life, you get locked up for trying to celebrate life, because because you have family who just don't think the way you do, and then they say, well, you need to take some medication, or you need to do this. You're really depressed, and I tell them, well, I'm depressed because you just always force me to do things I don't want to do. You know, why do I have to have permission to live? You know, you know, my, I don't have family that think very much of me. They only do things because they're selfish. People think I'm selfish because I'm trying to be true to myself. I consider I'm a highly sensitive person where I sense around my whole life. I remember sensing other people's emotions all the time. My mother was very emotionally balanced, and I had to fit her level of where she wanted. And if I didn't exactly do things, bad things happen. And I learned this. I learned from grown-ups, in the play group. You didn't do exactly what people told you to do, and it's not so. It's you can't. And I thought one day I grow up and do who I work very hard so that I'll be able to live the way I would want to. Instead, and and prove my parents to respect me, that I would have the life I needed. But unfortunately, I had nobody believe in me, you know, and it was very hard, you know, you know, I let in a abusive boyfriend because he believed in me. And of course, he just controlled me. And when he sensed it was very, he was no different than my mother, or my dad, or my sister. The three abusive people in my life. So, physically, emotionally abusive. And they would never actually admit that they'd done any wrong. Maybe my dad probably had, when he did something physical. My mom would never said about my brother beating up, and she was really mad. She tried, don't tell anything will happen in his family. When someone who was supporting me at church, because it's called visiting teaching. Someone assigned, and I was not even saying nothing. I mean, that's the thing about communities, so-called religious communities, is that they seem to be quick judge when someone tried to leave their family, and they kind of prison their family and say, you got one choice. Live with a family. It's unacceptable for you to live in a hostel. And I'm thinking, there's nothing different. Living in a hostel is actually a really good thing for people, It helps them to be self-sufficient and be better, actually, you know. And anyway, did God talk to love people outside your faith? As long as you're not, you know, you fellowship and stuff, that's the problem, you know, but people always like to indoctrinate their opinions, and it's really bad, and then wonder why people are atheists. Why? Because it's one or the other. Believe in God, you feel trapped. It's to be free is not believe in God, which you're also trapped in some ways anyway. The middle is basically being in tune with God, and you're free. But where life is different. Like the church is not just in the building; it's outside. It's not restriction anymore. Church is no longer restriction, because your church is God, not mankind. You go to church to pay respect, but you do, you know, you know, you do what God asks you to do, and you go and stuff. You know, you know. that's the problem, you know, I'm reminded today because I woke up really late, set, late. I go to bed late because I feel my life is meaningless. I go, you know, um, you know, I have to do what everybody else is acceptable, if I wanted to get up 6 in the morning, that's too early for a member of staff. I have to just wake what social acceptable. I get up 6 in the morning, but I can't go downstairs to get some breakfast, can I? Unless I have to, it's only stuff in my room, you know. You see what my point is, you know, you know, you you know, if I felt like that I felt more energized in the evening to to do past 8 o'clock, to probably just do salsa, dance salsa at 10, probably before 10 o'clock, before like 9 for an hour, and then to go get upstairs. It'd be socially acceptable, you know, because I live in a group home, a group care home facility where 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 you're so restrained, you want to die. And then it reminds you about what was life with your parents, with with your psychologically balanced parents who 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 they're not evil, just that they're just so deny about what they've done wrong, and you tell them, and you don't even listen. I even before I got when I was threatened, and I was going all the way to London to go to disability rights, and this guy who's Caribbean from the same country, who's like who's Dominican, and who's also Dominican like my mum, and Dominica, the small island, not Dominican Republic, Dominica, you know, and which I don't believe in coincidence, and 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 he tries to come to communicate my mum about just listen to her, because he has a friend, female friend who's also was went locked up, but they didn't listen. They're just like, oh, Charity just needs medication because I don't do exactly what she says, or because the doctors told me to. When I realized the problem was not because I was mentally imbalanced, because I had a society where where I was not allowed to overcome things, kept down so much unhappiness, and not allowed to live and be free to make my own decisions in life of how I should live and think. I was not dangerous to anybody. And I was very responsible because I had a very strict, emotionally abusive family who told me what I can and do. And sometimes I had seen people at church who was very spiritually and physical, emotionally and socially abusive. Which happens. It can happen no matter where you are. You could go, even atheist people can be, they blame about religion, but it's not really religion. It's just people being spiritually and mentally unbalanced. You know, you know, you know, you know, So I'm going to write in my diary about about how I'm to my reflection. Gonna put because I'm not really good with writing, but I'm gonna write just the one sentence that my dad gave me. We've only got few lines, and I'm gonna put life lesson is that the reason why I'm happy is because I'm not allowed to freely live how I feel, when I feel, or when I do. which is really sad though, but which I probably have done it several times in my lifetime when I did try to force myself to write with dictionaries and stuff. You know, I don't think I have a really, really good family, amongst the few. I have maybe nobody has a real good family, and that's why it's even more important to believe in God. You know, because because family can destroy your life, and families can be selfish. Even your church family can be selfish and just do what's where you end just being stuck in a anyway. But I'm not gonna keep on going on about this, but that's my thoughts anyway. Anybody wants to learn, who doesn't have a disability, I would say to you is that, don't limited people, don't, just because they got a disability doesn't mean that they're not intelligent. You stuff. You need to stop trying to derail people's choices and feelings. And it's better to let a person fall and make a mistake and then let them live than forcing someone's free will and they make even more worse mistakes, or even first force them to have no choice in life, that they want to kill themselves and self-harm themselves because they're forced to live how you want them to live. This is really bad. And even held people back, put them in chain all the time. It's really bad. If you're yourself, you wouldn't like it. You would want to kill yourself. That's for sure. Like most of those rock and roll songs, that I used to grow up listening to, and some of them from bands who came from 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 Latter-day Saints families, or Methodist, or different types of backgrounds, but choices, but yeah. Anyway, just want to let you out about that though. For me, I would never try to force people to do things, how they live. I always respect people's choices. I'd probably just give them advice, but I never force a person down. If it's, in the end of the day, it's the person's choice. Free will is a very special gift. Anyway, but I just wish I had people just listen to me in my life, who just stop controlling me and suppressing me, because that's the biggest killer in a person's life. Suffocating a person until they just don't want to. If people have children, I would say to them, let your children do mistakes. Tell them, okay, this is your choice, but there is something. But don't force them and threaten them or lock them and force them in the house. That's not going to help them. This is going to just make them even want to go to even more unbelievable things that's so unbearable. Like myself, I went with abusive boyfriend because nobody listened about how unbearable my life was, you know. Because my life was so controlled, and my mom would convince, and people at church interfering and not actually listening how bad my life was, and I was forced to be in a horrible, edible situation. The best life, my best life was living in a hostel, even though people snob at hostel. But to be honest with you, it was the best time of life, to to see what I could do and everything, but you know, when I straightened out all my triggers and abuse that people, I went back to church, and you know, but fortunately, people just was very judgmental and forced me to, and unfortunately, in the end, I had to, because the hostel, because unfortunately, a so-called Christian called Christchurch, I ended up having to go back to my parents, and I was working at the time, so thankfully with justice I was able to get back. I didn't have to owe any money, so much thank God for that. But yeah, but yeah, so and so I ended up being stuck with my parents, lost my job, the only job I had, because I had support by the so-called community, disability community, which there was terrible act. It was terrible, you know. And then so I had nowhere else to go. I used all the angles I could think about. People don't understand. We don't have certain skills in life. You pretty much can't do anything. So the only choice you've got is sign yourself out, which is like the devil card, basically. The devil card, playing the devil card. When you want, signing rights, applying for disability benefits. You're signing rights away. And they can decide anything what you can and cannot have in life. Which is awful, isn't it? Disability benefits meant to empower you. Instead it went to use for making sure people didn't have certain things in life, including children, to having going holiday, to free will, basically. Because that's the world we live in, where there's no such thing as equality. There's no such thing as humanity. And when they say humanity, it's just there to destroy people. The only real free choice for me is just keeping going, keep being alive, don't kill myself, keep believing God. And use the gifts that God gives me. So yeah, but it's frustrating. Really, it's frustrating. That you can't just freely just do what you want, and you're being told that you don't deserve to have what you want in your face, which makes you even want to end your life. But yeah, I don't know how I was gonna. So yeah, but the same boring face, reminded every day that I can't freely do things as I wish. That I can't just be freely, truly happy. I'm not allowed to truly just do what I feel in the mood to. Like, oh, I do that. I have to ask permission. I have to ask permission this. I have to ask permission. I can't celebrate that I got really, you know, you know, I can't. I'm in a mood to do something only to realize I can't do it because I don't have the right people. I don't have the right money for it. I don't. There's no backup for certain things. I'm not an excusing person. I've tried everything myself to go for it. But I'm just so roadblocked by people opinions. I didn't have to, you know, the thing, I even had to face a domestic issue with my dad because my dad was so abusive of this toxic paint because it's all because a stupid guy at we knew someone who was inactive in the church and he was toxic paint. I told Mom, don't buy toxic paint. It's really bad for you. It's funny though because that's probably another thing why my mum had cancers. Because my dad has MS, but he just didn't listen. I mean, my sister, she's going to university and she didn't stood up with him. She's just like, you can't do it. And I had to just go to a hotel and it's funny because I wasn't even invited with some people I knew from church at the time. And okay, some of them was kind of understanding, but I was told off by this girl who was married, who was so white American titleless, didn't know about hardships, and she was like, you need to go back. And I just quoted some lyrics about people like me who chose to leave God. And of course I didn't, but I just said to her, that about those people, like my sister, who came from my faith, the community I was in, that I'm still in, and it's stuff. Okay, so they said, okay, fine, we helped you, because I was in distress. My mom, she called social services, and said it was charity, and stuff, and I didn't tell them exactly because my mom, I didn't want to be forced to be arrested by living on saying, disabled people, because I didn't know we had any break. I didn't have nowhere to go. No, I still at that time I wasn't, support. What they socially thought was to be was disabled, even more with disabled people. There's nothing wrong to be with disabled people, but I just wanted to overcome my disability, not being put in a box, to live life beyond. Like most people who overcome disability, but we live in a world where people are boxed down. They're not allowed to be resurrected. There has to be remain dead in the tomb. Psychologically, in life, we live in a world no different than the time of Jesus, where people just do not want people to overcome things. They don't want. There's people respect miracles, but they don't really want miracles to actually come, only in their own terms. And that's the thing with my life. I've overcome so much goals overcoming miracles, but my mum, she still didn't allow me to have more miracles in my life. Instead, she just lived in this world of a box and insecurities, didn't have enough faith for me to celebrate the life of myself. She kept me in that box. Didn't say we all, my school teacher, especially school teacher, gave me book thing and said, okay, charity, okay, we don't do Sundays, but we deal. You do ask him if you do Saturday, maybe be flexible. No, I overcome. Someone had faith for me to do violin for free, and then she didn't. My parents just build me up and tear me down. I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm just stating the fact. All these things are staring, and they still don't listen to me. They still do the same damages. Everyone in my physical life who in charge of decisions in my life, just don't listen to me. Instead of just do what everybody else, what they've been programmed by textbook, or their own personal experiences and feelings, and which is good to use books and stuff, but sometimes it's also to go out from the outside perspective through someone else's lens. That's why it's always good to ask God about how things, instead of, and also ask, because my mom, that's the thing about people spiritually abuse, is that how people act back. It's my parents and other people at church who spiritually, psychologically, and physically abused me in some way. I would say, when I say physical abuse, I mean like excluding, because that's another form of physical, psychological abuse in my book, you know, but you know, as I said, I've gone through so much different types of abuse my whole life, which is, it's amazing I'm still alive, and I'm dealing really well with no medication. Pretty good, isn't it? With all the psychological and physical damage of human beings done to me. But it's really difficult though, but I definitely so I have to like give to God and say, open the way that I'll be able to do something like there's a little bit free things, which is very difficult. I started singing, lost my voice because my mother took me down because of all the songs and stuff. And maybe and I also had a near death experience because my ex abusive partner always took my life from me, which was really bad. I was having a really bad time at the time, which I did have a cycle break. Of course, anybody was my situation where they don't have any emotional support, you know, no, even your bishop spiritually, psychologically abuse you.